Hey everybody, G'day Archie, Ajit, Andrea, nice to see you. Alrighty, and welcome to anybody who's watching us on YouTube. Yeah, we're live on YouTube today, so that's fun. All right, so we've got a bit of a session coming up for you. If you're interested in your IELTS speaking test at some point in the future, this is the place to be for it. So let's just wait a little second or two to see if everybody joins us. Who else have we got coming in here? We've got quite a lot in the class. Ooh, yeah, the room's filling up, as they say. Who have we got? Anastasia, Andrea, all right. AAZZ, a good name there. Angel, hi there. Archie, we've said hello to Archie. Bargia. Carolyn, hey Carolyn, nice to see you again. And Prasanna, of course. Prasanna's on everything. If it's the same Prasanna, that is, I mean. Damini, Daras, Dawari, Erica, Fatima, two Fatimas. All right. Gabrielle, and many, many others. So let's go down the bottom. Viral, Virita, Shirin, Sai, Raj, etc. Ngop, hey Ngop, nice to see you. Alrighty, so that's a list of a few of the people who are in. And of course, as I said, welcome to all you on YouTube. My name is Graham, and I am chatting to the people on Zoom here in our class via a little chat box. So why not join us next time on Zoom? That would be great to have you on board. Just sign up for a free membership and check it out. All right, I think we're ready to go. Good afternoon, Jeets. That's nice. Angel, very good. Hey, Dorothy. Haven't seen you for a little while. Hope you're doing well. Louis. And Neha again, back after the listening. Oh, and all right. My own from Myanmar. Welcome. I was chatting to one of your fellow citizens in Pai the other day. Of course, Pai is just into Thailand, but he was from Myanmar. So nice to see you there. Good afternoon, Dolly. And Mohit's here as well. Mohit's here twice for some reason. All right, let's get going, shall we? Before we do, I just wanted to remind you, and some of you, of course, have seen this before, so you can just switch off for a second. We have in the vocabulary section of our course 20 topic toolkits to help to boost your score and your vocabulary. Well, we're giving away an ebook of all 20 for free if you upgrade or buy a package. So that's one of those little things that you get, little extras you get with E2 Language, all of you on YouTube. So that's an offer until the end of December. All right. I'll show you a bit more at the end of the session about our topic toolkits and ways to improve and broaden your vocabulary. And of course, get a better score. Let's have a look. What are we doing today in our live class? This is coming live all the way from Vietnam. So we're doing a little speaking overview for all of you who are new. Anybody new here? Is it a one-on-one class or a group discussion? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Yes, a few here, a few new. We've got Sharikar, we've got Ravi Kumar. Ravi Kumar's new, Mariam's new, Dolly's new. All right, good. Quite a few new people on today. Well, warm welcome to you. And of course, we've got people taking the test this weekend. So if you are doing so, good luck from all of us. I hope you get what you need. Hello, Ayush. Nice to see you. I wanted you to know that, so here we go. Mohit's saying in this thing, I wanted you to know that we would get a chance to talk live to you. Well, we are going to do a little bit of live talking today, but I'll tell you more about that in a sec. We're going to do a warm-up and some vocabulary. We're going to do some practice on all parts, part 1, 2, and 3. We've got a little quiz just to see if you're on your toes with your grammar. And the Q&A, the question and answer, that happens as we go along. All right. Speaking test tomorrow, Akshay. Good luck. Good luck. All right, let's do it. All righty. First of all, though, just one or two little things so that you guys on YouTube get a little sense of what you get when you're E2 Language. We have tutorials, 45-minute sessions, one-on-one using Zoom, as I'm using today, working on one or two of the skills that you need help with in your IELTS test or in preparation for your IELTS test. We also have one-on-one speaking tests. So we have a speaking intensive package. So again, just like the IELTS speaking test, online, on Zoom, and some directed personal feedback. And lastly, here you can buy them here. Again, you can see what you can get in your E2 language course. Good. Now, let's get on with the business at hand. That's the IELTS speaking test. Let's see what people can remember. All right. How many minutes for the test? Anybody can remember? Stick it in the chat box. Quickly. Oh, yeah, good. 14, 11 to 14. Very good. That was just quick enough. Not 15. Right. 11 to 14 minutes. How many parts? Well, I've given you that already. There are 3. That's too easy. Now, let's have a look at the 3 parts here. Part 1 is a sort of a chat with your examiner who will ask you questions about yourself. He will start off by asking about what you do or where you live, and then we'll go into other topics related to your personal life, like school, education, swimming, food, that kind of thing. Use that part of the test to warm up, just to get used to being there, to talking about yourself. Extend your answers, give nice full answers, and we'll look at that more when we do work on part 1 in a sec. Part 2 is the dreaded 2-minute talk when you have to speak for 2 minutes, but actually it's not that difficult, really. We've got lots of ways of helping you, and if you do lots of practice, you will be just fine. And part 3, that is a discussion in which the examiner asks you difficult questions. Well, questions that you probably have not thought about before or given answers to. But we'll look at how you can help yourself in that part as well. Let's have a look at the timing for that. 4 to 5 minutes, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. So 5, 4, 5 max, making a total of 14 minutes for the test. Now, the examiner, of course, as soon as you have left the room, the examiner sits down and thinks, okay, what mark am I going to give that candidate? And she looks at 4 separate criteria. You can see those. They're called band descriptors. You can get those online. And she looks, first of all, at fluency and coherence. Fluency means, can you keep talking without any effort? With ease. Coherence means, can we understand what you're saying easily, basically? Then your lexical resource, fancy word for vocabulary. Have you got a broad vocabulary? You can use it precisely. We have no problem understanding what you're saying. Grammatical range. Thank you very much, Dorothy. Range and accuracy. So grammatical range means you've got a variety of different grammatical structures that you can use. And of course, you don't make very many mistakes. And lastly, pronunciation. Okay, can we understand you easily? You, of course, like me, have an accent. But is your accent making it difficult for me to understand? And how is your intonation, your individual word pronunciation, your sentence stress, all those kind of things? All right, so that's basically what the examiner is looking for. Part 2 is not related to part 1, a question here from Virita, but part 2 is on the same theme as the questions you get in part 3. All right. Great. Shirin from Uzbekistan, welcome to the class. Okay, so welcome all you guys again on YouTube. If you just joined us, my name is Graham, and we're going through what to expect and how to prepare for the IELTS speaking test. These are the band descriptors. These are the public version. You can find them online. Just Google them, and it tells you roughly what the examiner is looking for at any given level. All right, and you get a score for each of those criteria, and the score is equal. So, for example, if you get 7777, multiply by 4, get 28, divide by 4, you get 7. If you get 7766, all right, that gives you 26, which gives you, divided by 4, 6.5. So that's kind of how it works. All right. All righty. Sorry, bit of dogs outside. I hope it's not disturbing you. Must be a visitor. Let's have a look at part 1 of the speaking. All right, first of all, yes, personal questions. But before we do part 1, of course, The examiner has to make sure that you are the right person to be in that test at that time. So she will ask you some personal questions, very simple ones, just give short answers. It's not assessed. And once you've done that, then you can proceed to the phone. Now, we're not going to actually practice these short factual questions here because I want to do something a bit more interesting, which is get you on and speaking. So let's go straight on to part one. So 12 questions, possible questions on 3 different topics. The first one is always about what do you do? Do you work, or are you a student, or where do you live? So you can prepare for that one, but you can't prepare for the others because there's a wide choice of topics that the examiner can choose from. So it could be one of these, but there are many, many others. But it's not a bad idea to practice talking about some of these. And who knows, you may be lucky and get asked about one of the ones you prepared for. Tests soon coming up. Wow, I'm just seeing in the chat box. My second day of lectures, IE says. Wow, I'm not quite sure what that means. So for you guys on YouTube, I'm just reading from the chat box, and that's the way we communicate. We are going to actually communicate a little bit more live in a minute. Now, the questions are personal and they're very simple. And the kind of questions you might get asked: do you live in a big city or a small town? Did you play sport as a child? Those kind of questions. So they're not difficult, but you can prepare. Now, let's do some vocabulary activation first because the 2 topics we're going to be practicing today are your free time, leisure activities, and collecting things. All right. So you've got a minute. In the chat box, please, just brainstorm a few of the bits of vocabulary you think you might use if you were asked about these 2. All right. Spare time, free time, spare time. So I was going to read them out for the YouTube audience there. Leisure. Okay. All right. What else have we got? Leisure time, relaxation. Good. And we've got hobbies, more leisure time, hobbies, more leisure time. What else have we got? What else could we put in there for free time activities? Addictions. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yoga, watching movies, entertainment, me time. I like that. Me time. Very good. Vocation, recreation, reading, favorite, utilizing the time, family time, Gujarat, socializing, not socialism, socializing with friends, meditation, playing games, distraction from the routine of work, break time. All right. Time for a break, Felicitas. I couldn't agree more. Good, thank you very much. Some good samples there, examples. Here are some that we came up with earlier. You might like to have a look and see if there are any that you would like to use during your practice, because guess what? I'm going to get you to use your phone to record yourself and to answer questions from our examiner. So have a little read. To unwind, that's a nice word, isn't it? To unwind just means to relax. Okay. Unwind. Very nice word. Sometimes you get a bit wound up because of the stress of work and whatever it is. All right. First of all, quick vocabulary quiz. Can you remember which of those words should go into the gap from the ones that we've just had on the previous screen? Fill in the gaps. So remember, you can use some of these, even some of these expressions in your practice. Let's have a look at the answers. There we go. Unique pieces of furniture. Unique. There's only one of them. Very few of them. China ornaments. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, little China vases and animals and things like that. unwinding, doing my pottery, learning a new language. And of course, schedule these days is so hectic that I really need time to unwind. Okay, that's the kind of thing. Now, let's have a look. We've got some methods that we use to help you to speak at length, to extend your answers. Let's have a look at them, shall we? Why do we want to do this? Well, because when you extend your answers, you have to use more vocabulary and grammar. And that, of course, shows the examiner that you can do it. So you have to show off a bit. All right. All right, let's have a look at them. Everybody knows about these, so I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to put them up here. First of all, the examiner asks you a question. So what do? You say what you think. Next, you might give a bit more information, some details. You might give some contrasts, all right? You might say, well, yesterday I did that, but today I'm doing this. Or you might talk about past and present. Now, when I was a kid, but now I, or at the moment, I'm collecting China dolls. But you know what I really want to collect is Mercedes cars, that kind of thing. All right. And of course, you want to give some reasons why you're doing this as well. So saying why is actually a really good way to extend what you're saying. So don't just answer with one word or 4 words, just 2 or 3 sentences. A full day excursion, I think is what you mean. All right. After that, you will feel, no, you don't feel hectic. You can't feel hectic. The day is hectic or your schedule is hectic. You just feel exhausted after your hectic schedule. All right. But thanks for popping that in the chat box. Hectic is completely occupied. No, Ayush, hectic means very, very busy. No time to even sit down and have a cup of coffee. All right. Hectic, really busy. A hectic life never stops. Let's hear some of these 2 topics talked about in action. All right, so do you think you have enough free time? So these are the questions that we're going to be practicing soon. And you can all use your phones and record yourself. And you can see at the top here, we've got those 6 methods for extending your answers. So let's have a look. And which of these methods does the speaker use? Pop your answers in the chat box if you like. All right. Which of the methods does the speaker use? Here we go. Example number 1.
Do you think you have enough free time?
Not really. Not these days. I'm a full-time student and I work part-time. So my schedule has been really hectic. I barely have time to catch up with my friends. But when I was back home in high school, I had so much free time and I used to be really sociable. I kind of miss those days.
I kind of miss those days, I can imagine. Yes, what's she doing? Comparing past to present? Excellent. Providing details. She gave her opinion as well, didn't she, as well? Did she give any reasons? I'm a full start. She kind of gave reasons too. She did a lot of it. All right. So she provided details. Very good. She compared past to present. Those were the main things she did. Good. Let's have a look at question number 2. So you can see when you do that, you do give a nice full answer. All right. So these are the kind of things you can practice ready for your IELTS test for the part 1. Here we go. Now, let's have a listen this time. We don't have the script, so you're just listening. Which are the methods that the speaker uses this time?
What do you enjoy doing when you have free time?
When I do get a moment to myself, I hate to admit it, but I just love watching a good series or an old movie on Netflix. It's such a perfect way to unwind and switch off. Having said that, I've been planning to go hiking next week when we have a term break. We're going to hike up a mountain. I forget the name, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
To unwind and switch off. What does she do? Yeah, now let's see. What did she do? She used 5 because she's going to the future. That's absolutely right. 2 and 3, details, contrasts. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's have a see. There we go. There it is. Well, I do get a moment to myself. I hate to admit it, but I just love watching a good series or an old movie on Netflix. It's such a perfect way to unwind and switch off. Isn't it just? I expect quite a lot of people are chilling and watching Netflix. Okay, she provided details. Secondly, she gave reasons. Thirdly, she compared present to future. You can see there's a lot of things you can do just for a simple question. So that's something you can practice to make sure that when you do the test, you'll be able to extend those simple questions into really good, full answers. The next one, have a listen again. What does she do? Which of the methods does our speaker use?
What did you do on your last day off?
Let me see. Oh, that's right. It was funny actually because all my friends went to a music festival. We'd been planning it for months. I had my ticket and I'd even bought myself a tent. But the night before, I got food poisoning. I was so sick. I just couldn't go. So, not that funny, I suppose, in the end.
All right. So that's a bit unsurprising because you'd think it would be totally wonderful, didn't you? But she got sick and couldn't do what she wanted to do, go to the music festival. There is what she said. It was funny, actually. Well, actually, it wasn't that funny, really, but she could laugh about it now, right? I guess. All right. So what did she do? 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 6 and 1. We got all of them. I don't think we had quite all of them. She provided details and gave contrasts. All right. She was planning, but she got sick and gave lots of details about it. Okay, so you can see some nice full answers from our candidate there. There we go. She contrasts herself with other people. Had a nice sense of humor. All righty. Now it's your turn. Okay. So what are you going to do? Yep. You're going to find your phone and stick it onto record. All right. You YouTubers, you can do that as well if you like. It's always fun to do something like this at home. We're going to record it so that you can listen to yourself afterwards. And then you can say, which of those methods did I use? How did I do? What could I have done differently or better? All right. Are you ready? You got your phones? Here we go. All right. So here's David, our resident examiner. And here are the methods you can use. Try using 2 or 3 of them for each question, or 1 or 2. Just do your best. All right. So let's start off with the first one and we'll run straight through all of them. Are you ready? Okay, press that record button. Here we go.
Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about free time. Do you think you have enough free time? What do you enjoy doing when you have free time? What did you do on your last day off?
All right. How did you do? Let's have a listen to those answers again for those 3 questions. But before we do, in the chat box, how did you do? Did you manage to extend your answers? We only gave you 15 seconds, so it's not very long. Don't worry, you can do it a bit longer when you're practicing. Not much. Better. Time flies by. It does indeed. Okay. But I expect you managed to get in 2 sentences at least, which is great. But we're just starting our practice here. Not much, Angel said. It was really quick. All right. Okay, Mohit took 15 seconds to think. All right. Not very well. Use simple sentences. What to do if you stop in the middle? Well, don't stop in the middle. Just say, what else could I say? Let me think. All right. Find some language to buy yourself time. All right. While you're thinking. All right. So maybe you didn't do great there, but you're getting better. At least you know what to do. So you can practice on your own and record yourself. You can use these questions or any questions that you can find on your course. Let's have a listen to these candidates answer 3 more questions. Remember, we've got another topic. Here we go. What methods does she use? Yep, stick them in the chat box and I'll read some of them out. So question number 4, here we go.
Did you collect anything when you were a child?
Not really. My best friend did though. She had this unbelievable collection of ornaments, little china animals, and people. I was so jealous of her collection, and we used to spend a lot of time arranging them and cleaning them. Although it wasn't mine, I guess I felt like a co-owner of her collection in a way.
All right. What did she use? 2 and 1. There we go. Have a look. Just check your answers. I think she gave some contrasts as well, didn't she? Have a look there. Have a quick read. Did she compare past to present? All right. So you can see how she extended her answer. Now, we're just looking at some really nice answers, some good answers. This candidate got an 8.5 in the IELTS test. So we've got a good example. Let's have a look at another one. Okay. Question number 5. Here we go. What kinds of things do people like collecting?
What kinds of things do people like collecting in your country?
I can't think of anything in particular these days. Maybe technology, devices. But when I was growing up, I remember that stamp collecting and coin collecting were big things. Oh, and CDs too. I don't think people really do that anymore now that it's all online.
Okay. 1 and 4, give your opinion, compare past to present. 2 was in there, provided some details, certainly some details. There we are. And she gave some reasons too. So just have a read of that. See what happens when, if you were asked, can you think of anything particular that people like collecting these days? Collecting doesn't seem to be that fashionable now. When I was a kid, people collected all sorts of things, cigarette cards, and used to collect dolls and all sorts of things. But people don't seem to do it now. But of course, they do collect devices. That's an interesting one, isn't it? If you can't think of anything that people collect today, then of course, go back to when you remember as a kid, people did collect things, or you did. All right. Nowadays, people collect plants, Karen says. Yeah, well, that's true. People collect money too, but I don't think you can quite talk about collecting money. All right. And question number 6, you're going to try these 3 in a minute. Have a listen. What does she do? How does she extend her answer?
Would you like to collect anything in future?
Nothing really springs to mind. I quite like the idea of minimalism, not accumulating stuff for the sake of it. I've thrown out a lot of things recently, in fact. But you never know what will happen in the future. I wouldn't mind having a collection of books. I do love recipe books, so if I get a bigger house, I might think about it.
A collection of books, but she used the word minimalism. You might have picked that up. Minimalism, which means, of course, very little. I don't want to collect anything. I kind of sympathize with her, actually. Perhaps some of you do too. Collecting stuff. Well, details and compared present to future. So one of the things she might like to collect would be recipe books, but only if she get a bigger house. All right, nice answer, that one. I like that one. Okay, so you've got some ideas of what you can say. Let's do a bit more practice, all right? Use the same questions and the methods to extend them. All right, again, record yourself. Now you know that you're not going to get very long, so start straight away. See if you can get a bit more out this time. In the test, there is no time for each of these questions, but the examiner does have to ask you a certain number of questions. So she may actually say, thank you, and ask you another question and interrupt you. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with you. She has questions she wants to ask you. It's okay to say, That's all right. Just don't say it too much, all right? Good question. Dorothy believes in minimalism too. I think it's good. All righty, here we go. All right. So remember, you're going to get going straight away and you see if you can get a couple of sentences in before the bell. All right, you ready? Press the record button and away we go.
Did you collect anything when you were a child? What kinds of things do people like collecting in your country? Would you like to collect anything in future?
How did that go this time? A little bit better? Managed to find a bit more to say? Angel, that's good. Angel did better. All right. It is a short time. And of course, you have longer in the test. But of course, if you speak for much longer than about 20 seconds or so, the examiner may well say thank you and move on to a next question. Quite a bit better than before. Well, so it looks like practice is a good idea, hey? Now you've got these questions, you can use them. There's plenty more, and I'll show you where at the end of the session where you can find more questions. And of course, these sessions are all recorded. So if you have a course that you bought with E2 Language, you have access to all of the sessions in the week that are provided for you 24 hours after the class is given. All right, let's move on. So these are the questions from part 1. You might like to take a little screenshot of those if you like, and you can go back, listen to your recording and say, oh, that was all right. Oh, I could have said this. Why didn't I? Oh, yeah, that would be a good word to use. Give yourself some feedback by listening to yourself and do it again. All right, because next time it should be better. Is that right? I think so. All righty. So now, we're not going to do a question for me, but I would like a question to ask you a question. So we'll go back to that. So instead of me, all right, if you raise your hand, all right, just go into your participants and raise your hand, then I can unmute you and I can get 1 or 2 people to answer a question. So raise your hand, go into participants on your Zoom, down at the bottom there, click on that and raise your hand, and then I'll know that you want to talk. All right. Okay, so we've got Dwigu, first of all. Okay, I am unmuting you. You're muted. Unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, Dwigu, hi.
Hi.
Hello. So do you think you have enough free time?
Sorry?
Do you think you have enough free time?
I do think I have enough free time, actually, especially after this pandemic. We don't have to go to work, so we kind of work from home. So I have more free time.
Thank you. That was very clear, very easy to understand. You gave your opinion, you gave some reasons and some details. Thanks, Vigo. That was a nice, clear answer. A good one to start with. Thank you.
Thank you.
And who we got next? Is it Gizem? Gizem. Okay, I'm unmuting you. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Gizem. Did I get your name right?
Yes, it's right.
Oh, good. So, Gizem, what do you enjoy doing when you have free time?
I am trying yoga lastly, and then I am puzzling. I'm reading book actually. Actually, I didn't expect you choose me because I didn't raise my hand. I
Oh,
couldn't prepare anything. I am in workplace now, so I was just listening your recommendations about speaking part on IELTS.
that's
I'm
all right,
sorry.
Gizem. No, that's okay.
I couldn't give a proper answer to your question.
That's all right, Gizem. I understand. All right. Your hand was raised, but that's all right. But thanks for coming on, and you started well. Keep practicing. Thanks,
Thank you.
Gizem. All right. All right. So I hope she doesn't get into trouble. All right, Paridi, I'm unmuting you.
Hey, hi.
Right. Hey, Paridi, what did you do on your last day off?
If I remember correctly, it was a sunny day. I went for a short picnic kind of a thing where I had a good quantity of meal in the form of a burger. It's a cheeseburger. But when I come back, it's upset my stomach badly. It's a day to remember.
So, right, very much like our interviewee earlier on, right? You upset your stomach, right? Thank you very much. Just listen carefully to your past tenses there. You got one of them wrong, but it was very clear what you said. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
All right, let's do one more or two. We've got Sri Sari. Okay, I'm unmuting you. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Let's do question number 4. Did you, Sri, did you collect anything when you were a child?
Yes, I did. It might a little bit strange, but I had a collection of tiny cars and airplanes. I like to ask my dad usually to bring me every time he went out for duties out of town. So I really love it. It's not like other girls who likes to collect dolls or something, but I just like cars and airplane. I don't know why.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Yeah, so some contrast between yourself and other people, some details, and you brought in your father. Again, be careful with your past tenses. Just have a listen to the recording if you like. And but you're very clear and very easy to understand. So some nice intonation, some good phrasing, and so on. Thank you very much, Sri. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Who have we got next? So we've got Mohit. Mohit, are you ready? Mohit is a regular participant in our lessons. Isn't that right, Mohit? Sorry, Mohit, I'm not sure. Let's try it again. Here we go. You're muted at the moment.
Hello.
Mohit. Yeah, hi, Mohit. All right. Okay, so let's
Hello, sir.
Sorry, go on. So, Mohit,
Hello.
what kinds of things do people like collecting in your country?
So in my country, well, I don't know the people like to collect in my country, but like to collect old notes, old currency in my country, because they think that they can sell the old note on the website. A lot of websites are running in a country that they can get a lot of money in the exchange of that old currency.
Thank you. Sorry, we lost you a bit
I'm
there.
audible?
Your internet connection's going in and out a bit, but I heard a little bit of what you said, and it sounded good, like you were developing that. You weren't sure, but then you found something to say. And look, it's a good strategy there, Mohit. If you say, well, I'm not really sure what people like to collect in my own country, but I've heard that some people like collecting old currency because, and so on. So good strategy there, buying yourself some time. Thank you very much, Mohit. All right. And let's see, who else have we got? Viral. I hope I got your name right there. Just unmuting you. Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, would you like to collect anything in the future, Viral?
Yes, definitely. I have a knack of collecting old things which are very unique in collecting, and it's my hobby to collect coins, postage, old stamps, and apart from that, I have been a bookworm sort of person, so I would definitely have a good collection of novels and magazines, so I
Thank
can
you.
spare some time to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. Thank you.
thank you.
Great. Good. That was nice. I like that. You have the knack of collecting things and you're also a bookworm. So a couple of nice bits of vocabulary. That's fluent. You developed it really well. Sorry, I cut you off there. So good. Keep practicing. And so everybody who's
Thank
watching,
you.
you can see what
Okay.
you can do, even if you're being watched by 500 people, or listened to rather. Thanks very much there, Viral. All right. We need to move on, guys. Let's go on to the next part of this lesson today, part 2. It's the 2-minute talk. All right. Here's what you have to do. If you haven't had a look at what goes on in the IELTS test, let's just check it out. First of all, the examiner says, now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make notes if you wish. Do you understand? And you smile and say yes. Okay. So here's paper and pencil for making notes, and here is your topic. And he passes over a task card for you to look at and to use while you're doing your 2-minute talk. And this task card sits on the desk in front of you, so you can look at it anytime you want to remind yourself, perhaps, of what you could talk about next. So you get a minute to prepare. You can make notes if you wish, but you don't have to. Nobody checks. And then the examiner says, can you start speaking now, please? And so you speak for 2 minutes. All right, sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? So how can you make sure that you have enough to say for those 2 minutes? What are some of the strategies you can use to make sure that you keep communicating and speaking for the period of time that you need to? At the end, the examiner will ask you one little short follow-up question. All right. You need just to say yes or no, or I don't know, or something like that. It's not assessed. So let's have a look in further at this task card. Now, some of you may have been on our YouTube channel. We've got hundreds of videos up there to help you in your preparation. All right. Have a look at the PPF method, past, present, future. One way of dealing with this 2-minute talk that you have to give. All right. So, for example, supposing you were asked, talk about a time when you felt happy. You might start by saying, right, well, okay, I want to start by telling you about a time, quite a long time ago. It's probably about 30 years ago and I remember it really well. And it was probably one of the happiest days of my life. Now, today, actually this morning, just before I came to this test, I bumped into a friend of mine who I haven't seen for ages. And well, it was really nice to see her. And then you could talk about something from the future. That's one way of taking up the 2 minutes. As long as you talk about time when you felt happy, you can talk about another time. You can talk about 2 times if you want, if you run out of things to say. So that's one way of approaching this task too. Or you can do the traditional method. You start with a short intro, which might be something like, okay, so let me tell you about a time, actually a whole week, when I felt really happy, happiest I've ever felt in my life. So first of all, what was it that made me happy? You can use these prompts to organize your talk. Yes, that's true, Jeet. I'm just looking in the chat box here. Sorry, you're asking me some questions. Jeet said it's when you felt happy. You just need to talk about happiness. That's okay. All right. And then you might go down and talk about the other 3 prompts that are there to help you. If you run out of things to say when you're using this method, you could say, look down at the card and say, what else could I tell you? Oh, yes, let me tell you a bit more about who was there. I've forgotten, and so on. You can find ways. Go back to the task card, keep talking. It's important. Keep talking for 2 minutes. The examiner will tell you when the time is up by saying thank you. There is no clock, so you can't time yourself and you can't take the watch in. So you just keep talking and the examiner will tell you when not to. Yes, they're just a guide, exactly. These 3 bullet points plus the 4th one here, these prompts, Paridi, they're just a guide, exactly. You don't have to talk about all of them. If you don't talk about all of them, it doesn't matter. Okay. Mohammed, and we will talk on different topics and stories. Keep to the topic on the task card. Feeling happy. Keep to that topic. All right, so Somia is asking what one can do to reach an 8 from a 7.5. I'd need to actually work with you specifically to know what you need to do. It's not a general question, not a question I can answer in a general way. Yes, we can talk about the future, Dorothy, that's right. I'm just looking in the chat box here. Any tips to cover all 3 stories in 2 minutes? Well, actually, the thing is, you don't have to cover all 3 stories in 2 minutes. You maybe only cover 2 stories. You may be just about to start the story number 3 and the examiner says, thank you. Can I have the task card back, please? All right, doesn't matter. Just keep talking. That's the most important thing. All right, hope that helps. So you might like to practice both of these, of course. I mean, not at the same time, all right, individually, see which works for you. Check out Jay's video on YouTube, see what you think. All righty, so let's move on. But before we do, quick grammar quiz. Here we go. On the screen, you can see, all right, 3 possible verb forms for each of these, or actually not verb forms, other things as well, a minute to choose, and some ideas about what you might talk about. All right, that's looking good. Let's have a look at the answers. You might have guessed that, yes, the topic for today is books. So there may be some vocabulary that you might like to use from our little exercise here. Here are the answers I'm going to talk about. Let me start by saying, there's a nice little introduction there, gives you a little bit of time. Let me start by saying that. These are expressions, we could call them framing expressions, which actually help the listener to know what you're about to talk about. Let me start by, okay, like most people, another little framing context statement, all right? I'd seen. Notice we're using contractions here, not I had seen, but I'd seen. Helps your language flow a bit more if you can get those contractions in. I'd never considered reading the books, all right? I felt a bit daunted. Daunted means, wow, the books are big and there's 3 of them. It was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to finish these, all right? But having read them all, now I can say they changed my life. Well, there you go. All right, so let's do some practice. Get your phone and recording. Now, remember, we're going to do the whole of the part 2 here. So you've got a minute to prepare and you can make notes if you want. And then you're going to speak for 2 minutes. And then the little question at the end, just give a very short answer. All right. Are you ready?
Now, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you speak, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make notes if you wish. Here's a pen and paper for your notes, and here's your topic. Please don't write on it. I'd like you to talk about a series of books that you have read.
Now, remember, you can talk about a book if you can't think of a series, so don't panic. If you haven't read a book, Mohit, talk about a film you've seen. You can't ask the examiner to change the question. The examiner can't do that. But explain why.
All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? Thank you. Do you generally like reading?
So the answer for this little question is, yes, I do, or not really, or I've never read a book in my life, something like that. Just keep it really short. It's not assessed. All right. Now, let's...
Thank you. Can I have the task card and pen and paper back?
Sorry,
please?
David. Whoop, I forgot who's going to say that. And then the examiner asks for the task card and the paper and pencil back. And you move on to part 3, which we will do in a second. I am just looking at 1 or 2 questions in the chat box. I haven't read any series of books. Can I talk about Harry Potter books? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, maybe you haven't read the whole series. I've only read 2 books of the series of, I don't know how many Harry Potters there are now. A lot, I think. Okay, yeah. So Mohit, I suggested Mohit talked about a film. And look, this is what you might have to do. If you just don't read books, and there are some people who don't read books, you can say, well, you know, I don't actually read books. So what I'd like to do is to talk to you about a series of films that I've watched. Look, what can you do? You can't sit there saying nothing. You've got to talk about something. So think about, what could you talk about? Don't panic. It's okay. And don't ask the examiner, oh, I don't read books. Can I have another topic, please? Because the examiner cannot give you another topic. All right. All right. So that's dealt with that. And it's an important question. Thank you, Mohit. It's an important question. Now, Jay Lakshmi said, some examiners point to the prompt in the question. Is it because I was talking off topic? Well, it's a little hard to know, but if you stop talking, the examiner may ask you to talk about a particular part of the prompt. She may say, can you tell me more about why you read them? But I don't really know why. As examiner may point to the top bit, describe a series of books you've read, just to make sure that the candidate knows what they have to do. So Jay Lakshmi, I'm not sure. Was that right, Sri? This was the exact cue card that you had in your IELTS speaking test. Wow. The Bible, what a good one to talk about, Ronnie. Absolutely. Whatever book you know well, that's completely all right. Remember, the test is about your ability to communicate your ideas, your opinions, your views, your experience, and so on in good English. So just do that. That's the most important thing. Sarah says 50 Shades of Grey is the only one you were able to finish. Well, you have to talk about that, I guess, won't you? That's all right. Not a problem. I haven't read it, but people tell me it's interesting. You could talk about this. Felicitas has said, you could talk about a friend who reads books. Yeah, actually, I don't read very much, but I have got a friend who reads books a lot. And she told me about this series that she just read. Well, you can do that. That's fine. And remember, of course, in the IELTS test, it doesn't have to be true what you say. All right? Tell a story. So much of what we do these days should be about telling stories, is about telling stories, and lots of them, of course, are not actually true. All right, just having a look, see if there are any more interesting questions, etc. People are just telling me what they only read Twilight. I have no idea what that is, but that sounds good. Talk about it. Okay. Oh, yeah. Academic books during school days, Navdeep. Oh, okay. Navdeep was a bit of a swot at school, but, you can talk about your maths books, series of maths books. Why not? Doesn't matter, as long as you can talk about it. Yes, an adaptation or something like that. Yeah, they're good. Some good questions here. But generally, the questions you're asking is, can I do this instead of talking about a series of books? And the answer is yes, because it's important that you talk. In the end, the examiner has to hear you speaking English so she can assess it. And if you don't, then she can't, if you see what I mean. That's what's important. A comparison of reading ebooks and real books. Well, possibly. I'm not sure about that, Sri. Can we give a comparison of reading ebooks and one book's fine, Jeet. Series of books ranging from, yes. So yes. Nisha says, I wish they'd asked me about a TV series. Well, actually, what you could say, here's a good idea. Say, look, I'm about to read a series of books. And the reason I'm going to read this series of books because I saw the TV series based on the books. And then talk about the TV series. How about that? Quick thinking, huh? All righty, let's move on. Let's do some part 3. Now, don't forget, of course, the reason why you're recording yourself is not because I told you so. It's because you can listen to yourself afterwards and get some kind of sense of how well you're doing. All right. It's really good to listen to yourself. I know it's painful. Doesn't sound very nice. You don't like the sound of your own voice and so on. All right. Ngop needs to go to school. Okay, Njang Ngop. Nice. Thanks for coming on. Well, that's true. Actually, he says, I'm not sure in that stressed moment I can think that much. Well, yes, I know what you mean. It's easy for me to say that now, isn't it? That's true. But anyway. All right. Thanks, then. All right. Let's move on. Part 3. What's part 3 about? It's a kind of discussion where the examiner asks you questions related to what you've just talked about in part 2. Same theme, same topic. All right. And Well, guess what? It doesn't matter if you know anything about the topic or not. Really, seriously, it doesn't matter because you have to answer the questions anyway. So the first thing to do is remember communication is about being honest sometimes, about saying what's going on and saying, well, actually, I don't really know much about this, or, that's a tough question. So be prepared just to say what's going on for you, which of course gives you a bit of time to think about what you could say, to wait for an idea to arise in your head. Now, the questions here are general. Don't talk personally. Don't talk about yourself, your boyfriend, your dad, your cat. Maybe you could talk about your cat. No, don't talk about cats in general. If you have experiences of something that you need to talk about, just talk about it in terms of people. If they asked you, for example, you tell me about what kind of books do children read at school these days in your country? Don't say, well, when I was a child, I read this. You could say, well, I remember some of the books that children used to read in school are. Talk generally. Some sample answers. That sounds like a good idea. Let's move on, shall we? Here we go. In your opinion, what are some qualities of a good leader? So those are the kind of questions you might get. Questions you don't necessarily have thought about. Don't? Haven't. Let's do some practice. Here we go. All righty. So some methods to extend your answers. First of all, you explain your view. You say, well, I think it's because. Now, this is why I do. This is why people do that. Frame your answer. Okay. Give some context. Talk about, well, in my country, give a situation for your answer. Buy yourself some time. I'm not really sure. Let me think. All right. Give examples. Examples are great. For example, where I come from. And you could also consider two views. Well, I've read that's, but of course, people also say, so you can talk about two views. Keep it non-personal. I don't talk about yourself. All right. All right, so Mohit's got a few. Let me just have a look quickly in the chat box to see what's going on. All right, okay, Mohit just wants to talk. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is do some practice. All right, so you're going to listen and speak, and it's all on the topic of books. So get your phone ready and record your answers, and we'll have a look at the questions later so you can do some more practice if you want. All right, here we go.
We've been talking about a series of books you've read, and I'd like to ask you one or two more questions related to this. Let's talk about reading. At what age should children start reading? How can parents help their children learn to read? How can children be encouraged to read more? Let's talk about popular books and movies. What makes a book become a bestseller? How different are movie adaptations from books?
All right. Wow. Some tricky questions, huh? But you can take the questions away with you, all right, and practice them. But just so you know, the examiner has 3 sets of 3 questions to ask you in part 3 of the speaking test. Set number 1 is the easiest set, let's call it. And that is the one she will usually start with, beginning part 3. She asks those 3 questions. She may also ask you an extra question saying, oh, why do you think that? Or why is that? Or what did you mean by? Then, according to your level of language that she so far thinks you're at, if you're at a high level, she will go on to the 3rd set of questions, which are the most difficult. If you're not at a high level, then she will choose from the middle set of questions, which are less difficult. All right. So that's where we're at. Some of those questions were definitely, I think, from that 3rd most difficult set of questions. All right. Interesting question, Paridi, interesting question, interesting observation. 2 views really helps to extend the answer. Excellent. Thank you very much for letting us know. Exactly, Andreas. She says, well, I really never thought about that before. However, it's an interesting question. Let me think. It's an interesting, okay, so Sonia is saying, I think my language is okay, but thinking of an answer makes me use less vocabulary and complex structures. What's middle and what's high? Well, I know that's a difficult thing to suggest. But the thing is, Sonia, what happens is the more you do this, the more you practice, if it's only recording yourself on your phone, the more you activate vocabulary. And the more the vocabulary that you have, that you use when you read and when you listen, which is much bigger, right, than the vocabulary you have for your speaking or your writing. The more you practice, the more this gets activated. The simple rule seems to be use it or it's not available. The more you use it, the more that language is ready for you to use when you need to express your ideas. Okay. Well, that's all right, Joe. Nothing to say for the last question. All right, not a problem. It was a very difficult question, wasn't it? Well, that's right, Ramon. Thinking of ideas and good vocabulary at the same time is kind of baffling. Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it? But you see, what happens, and of course, if you're looking about your first language, you don't actually have to think of vocabulary. You're thinking of ideas. And then from somewhere, the words to express your ideas come. Okay, come. Now, how did you get to be that good? You just did lots of talking, right? So keep on talking, practicing, answering questions on topics that you never thought about before, answering questions no one has ever asked you. Okay. Keep talking and practicing, of course, that strategy of giving yourself time, buying time. Number 3. Good. So Fatima says, do you lose points if your answers are not at all related to the question the examiner asked? Yes, because your answer isn't coherent. So in that first criterion, fluency and coherence, coherence means that the listener can understand your answer. And if your answer is not related to the question, there's nothing to understand. So yes, you should relate it in some way or other. I got lost in between. My mind was blank. Well, Mary, just say that. You say, oh, now where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yes, I was just talking about. That's what we do. That's what language is for, is to keep communicating. All right. Make sure that the listener knows that you're still talking to her. All right. A few speaking videos, Sima says. Well, go onto the YouTube channel, and there's lots and lots of speaking videos there from E2 language. Just go onto the E2 language YouTube channel, lots and lots of them. Parts 1, 2, and 3, practice tests, PPF, questions on speaking to, fluency and coherence, all that kind of stuff. That's all right, Andrew. No problem. All right, righty. Now that we're getting on, I realize the time is ticking. Okay. These are the questions that you might like to continue to practice, or like Joe, if you didn't manage an answer, maybe you'd like to look at number 5 there, Joe, and think, what could I do? How could I answer that? Start to activate some of the vocabulary and get some ideas going. Thank you, Sima. Now, we're going to move on because we've run out of time. Sorry. How did you do? What was difficult? Just spend a little bit of time at the end of the class thinking, okay, what am I going to work on next? How can I work on it? And here's a few suggestions. You can use our simplified version of the banned descriptors that the examiner uses to mark your writing. You can use this when you listen to your recording. Say, okay, let's think of fluency and coherence. Did I speak without effort? Or was there hesitation, hesitation? All right. Generally speaking, not too much hesitation. You can pause for a few seconds to think about what you're going to say. How well did you develop your topics? Fully? Could you have done better? So use this checklist to rate your own language. It won't be perfect, but it's better than nothing. Can you answer number 1 question? I haven't got time. I'm sorry, I'm way over time, as always. All right. And I wanted to show you 1 or 2 things here. What was number 1 question anyway? Yeah, let's have a look at the questions again. I'll do a quick one. Here we go. All right. Okay, what age should children start reading? Well, in my view, I think they should start reading as soon as possible. I mean, children have got great curiosity. And so if you start showing them books with beautiful pictures and simple language, and you start reading those words so they can hear you, and you point to the words and you look at the picture, and you say, okay, so that's the beginning of reading, isn't it? Associating a word, these weird, strange, abstract symbols, which actually mean nothing on their own. They only mean something when they're related to something that you can see or think about. So I think as soon as possible. I don't think there's an age. Just get on with it, really. There we go. So there's an answer. Well, thank you, Dorothy. I mean, it ought to be band 9, right? Jesus. Hey, anyway, whoops. Okay, more practice. Here we go. Now, first of all, we have these group classes which we run regularly, a few times a week. And myself and Sasha, colleague Sasha in Bali, and Anna, who is in Porto in Brazil, we run these classes for 5 students only, just 1 teacher, 5 students, and we spend lots of time doing speaking practice. We also run them for writing as well. So if you think that might be something you'd gain something from, benefit from, then please do join us. All right, so that's one of the things, you guys on YouTube, one of the extra things that we offer here at E2 Language. Now, what else? We've got self-study materials. We've got, you can review your speaking methods and practice right here. So, you know, if you couldn't remember all the methods that we talked about, go back, have a look at them and keep practicing them. And also you can build your vocabulary here using our topic toolkits. Now, I mentioned those right at the beginning. And if we just quickly flick over to the course, this is what you see. This is live, okay? So those of you on YouTube, you're now having a look at what's inside the E2 language course. There we've got the vocabulary, and when we click on that, we get our topic toolkits. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this, so let's have a look at, we're looking at books. I don't know, let's have a look at education, shall we? Here we go. So you get 5 pages in your topic toolkits. It looks like that. Essay topics, and then lots and lots of questions for practicing your speaking. So, hey, there we got part 1, topics for part 2, and questions for part 3. Okay. How has the internet changed education? That's a good question for now, isn't it? It's changed it hugely, I think. I'm not sure people are actually going to go back to school and university. And here we've got, here we've got a whole lot of links to articles, podcasts, and also to videos related to the topic of that particular thing. So, and then you get an essay and lots of other things. So basically, that's what you get from the topic toolkits. Next, live classes. This is a live class. If you want to watch it again or bits of it, you can find the recording once you're signed up for E2 Language 24 hours after the class. What else? You can get feedback on your speaking. You make a 2-minute recording. One of our staff will listen to it and give you some personal feedback on how you're doing. And if you want a tutorial, and that's a 45-minute one-on-one online session with a tutor, myself, Sasha, Anna, Marie-Claire, Danielle, whoever it is at E2 Language, using Zoom, and we can look at 2 of your skills, perhaps writing task 2 and speaking, for example, or listening and writing task 1. And we can work with you personally and help you with those difficulties you're having, the challenges, but also, you know, to show you what you're doing really well. Personalized feedback. We have mock tests, so a full mock test, computer delivered. We have a speaking test on Zoom, and you get indicative band scores and personalized feedback at the end of it. And you can buy mock tests here. As I've mentioned many times already, we have a YouTube channel. If you're looking for speaking ones, just put in E2 IELTS speaking, and there you can see a couple here that Jay has done. Speaking part 1 questions, a native speaker who tells you how to get a 9. Yep, he's Australian. And lastly, just a reminder, if you buy a new package or you upgrade your package, we'll give you these 20 topic toolkits as an ebook for free that you can keep forever. All righty. Well, I think we've done. All right, previous conversations. Oh, group class duration. Thank you so much. The group class duration is an hour. Thanks very much for the session. Sorry about previous I can't go back there, but you can watch the recording. All right, group class duration, as I said, is actually 55 minutes. It is a good resource. Thank you very much, Akshay. Yeah, the YouTube playlist. Lovely. All right, thank you Thank you very much, everybody. You guys on YouTube, I hope you can come and join us if you think what you see here is worth paying something for, but you can try a free membership anyway, just to dip your toe in the water and see what you think of it. And all you guys at E2 already, thanks very much for being with me. Have a wonderful weekend. Yes, thank you very much, Sid, Sri. I definitely will have a nice weekend. I'm looking forward to a walk on the beach tomorrow morning. All right. Yes. Can you still see the YouTube live later? That's a very good question, Zara. I don't know. But you can watch the recording here anyway on your E2 course. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Don't forget, writing, task 1, academic and general, tomorrow on Saturday for all you guys in E2 language. And on Sunday, we've got task 2. All right, that's good. Yeah, take care, Gizem. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you, Fatima. All right. Goodbye. Cheers, Sarah. See ya.